The scale doesn't lie. Welcome to SBH Bronx Health Talk, produced by SBH Health System and broadcast from St. Barnabas Hospital in the Bronx. I'm Stephen Clark. Younger Americans weigh more than ever before. In fact, more than half of America's youngest adults, those between the ages of 18 to 25, are overweight or obese, according to a new Johns Hopkins study published this week in JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association. The percentage of overweight young adults rose from about 18% in the late 1970s to nearly 24% by 2018. And the pandemic hasn't been kind to our children either. Since early 2020, the average child aged 5 to 11 has gained more than 5 pounds. Before the pandemic, about 36% of 5 to 11-year-olds were overweight or obese. That's now 46%. The borough in New York City with the highest obesity rate? No surprise, it's the Bronx. With us today to discuss this is Dr. Guido Macchiavello, Director of Ambulatory Medicine at SBH Health System. Welcome, Dr. Macchiavello.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
So let's start out, Doctor. Are you surprised by these findings?
I'm not surprised by these findings. It's something that, it's disappointing that we have been seeing this growth. We have not been able, and by we, I'm talking about the health systems in general, all throughout the United States, of preventing this continuous rising of a metabolic condition, in this case, obesity. We have not been able to make a significant impact on reducing the rate or in a way make the rate stagnant. So we have seen it increase over and over the years. Basically, we've seen it rising without us being able to do a significant change. No surprise, I'm disappointed.
Why do you think young people are gaining weight? Is there any reason behind it? Is it fast food? Is it lack of access to healthy food, bigger portion sizes, all of the above?
Well, there has been different literature about significant or different approaches on trying to understand what happened. It seems that misinformation is number one. Misinformation in terms of what to do, consequences about being obese in short term, long term. And this has created a lot of confusion, especially among young adults or emerging adults, as this study talks about. And misinformation is, as I point out again, has been led by these fashion diets, right? Things that are not sustainable as a change or as a significant sustainable lifestyle change, right? We just do this for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 3 months maximum, and it's definitely not sustainable. So that creates more confusion, more disappointment. We have a different amount of information being fed to us about different products as well. And we are always looking to get effects of these changes or using these products in the short term, which are very unrealistic in terms of goal as a provider of health and as a patient. I agree with that literature that was showing that why is the main culprit about this is the misinformation.
So what do you tell patients when you have a patient that comes into your office, whether they're in 18 to 25 or they're older or whatever, and they are obese? What do you tell them?
Well, it's not a conversation that, or at least the goal that I have for my patients is in terms of approach is not something that I have in just one visit. As any other medical problem that is chronic, I recognize it as such. And therefore, the treatment choices are discussed with the patient. The first step is always diagnosing, right? So I discuss with my patient what I find when I am evaluating them. One of the evaluations that we make every single day is the body mass index bringing back to the starting point of our conversation is that this late study shows that more than half of the American population in this age group has or is suffering from this condition. So we start having the conversation by addressing the BMI, the body mass index, as part of their evaluation. And what does that mean for me? What does it mean for the patient? And we start talking about what we need to do for treatment. The treatment is not, in a way, it doesn't have a cookie cutter design. We have to be very patient centered. We have to be open to deal with frustration, because we have to always find the root cause analysis of what has led the patient to come to where they're standing right now. So, and going back, as any other chronic medical condition, we have to be very open and having a non-judgmental point of view on terms of approach. I myself have had or still in a way, suffer problems derived from overweight and obesity. My experience as a patient is that I've had bariatric surgery twice in my life. The first time that I ever had it was when I was a medical student with a BMI of 40. I was part of this age group. I was a young adult. And as a patient, you always not paying attention, try to hide the reality of what you are suffering, even though that you can recognize that your weight is not going on the right direction, that you are being trained or you are in training of being part of a health system, and you're not making the right decisions. So it is even more frustrating. It creates a lot of guilt, and that you're not this example that you or this role model that you want to become. And I have tried different types of diets without being successful. And I had the opportunity to have bariatric surgery when I was very young. The first ones back in my home country. It was successful, needless to say, during the time that the success rate for that particular surgery had. So after 10 years, the weight came back, because once again, what we were dealing with is the root cause analysis of what my problem was. My relationship with food, my relationship with exercise, my relationship with sedentarism. Once you start addressing them, or you become going back to the type of treatment or the type of conversation that you want to have with your patient, you have to be very open of sharing, right? So we can relate to one another and share our experiences of what works, what doesn't work, and also be knowledgeable of different treatments. So you can be able to, besides relate to what the patient is suffering, that you are able to provide some relief of their problem. Treatment for obesity. As I mentioned before, I had surgery twice, right? So after the success rate that I had with the first one, and the decline of or I would say the rise in my weight that came back, what was expected after the studies, as I mentioned, I was very early in the experience we didn't have enough data to conclude that what was the rate of success for this particular surgery. But when I was old enough, after 20 years of having this surgery, this happened 20 years ago, we had different data, and it was evident that the surgery had the effects that I was expected to have from the surgery. But now it's time to reevaluate what was necessary to be done for me after I gained most of the way back. However, now, back 20 years ago, I was counting on my youth. So the success of my surgery was very fast. I didn't have any chronic medical conditions. I still don't have any chronic medical conditions, and I don't expect to have any. However, you never know. But I underwent to a second bariatric surgery, which it happened 2 years ago, and I still see significant positive results from it. My body has changed. I am able to move better, to exercise more. I don't have shortness of breath. I am able to enjoy more of my life. I can share with everybody that my journey, my experience has been like this, and therefore I feel happy. It's a work in progress. It's something that I'm going back to the sustainability of it, right? Lifestyle modifications added to any treatment is necessary. It's super
But I guess, yeah, not to interrupt you, Dr. Macchiavello, but I would assume, as you mentioned earlier, it's not a cookie cutter approach. It's a different recommendation for different people. So while one patient you may recommend, you know what, maybe it's time to consider bariatric surgery like it worked for you, maybe others is through lifestyle change or modification, or putting them on an exercise and eating regimen or something like that, right?
100%. We don't. I think I skipped that part of my journey. Definitely, diet and exercise are part of any healthy weight loss treatment. We have to make different choices, and I think I want to use that as, instead of using diet, right, healthier choices, what we put in our body. Having when it comes to food, you gain more nutrients, or what you get your nutrients in more buck for your money. Is that the right expression?
Yeah.
Right. So instead of having a bowl of cereal, which again we can be misinformed. Oh, cereal is fantastic. Is a great way to start the day. But if you start reading the labels, they're just pure sugar. And if you add milk, you have a little bit of protein to the milk, and then you add fat, and then you add more sugar to a high sugar contained food, then you're not making the right choice. Versus what you can do is, let me have some reduced fat Greek yogurt. Therefore, you don't have as much sugar, you don't have as much fat. Greek yogurt is high in protein, and then you add some blueberries as a sweetener, or strawberries. Berries in general are very good for maintaining a good glycemic control, which is a control of your sugars. They have low glycemic index, and therefore they will not make your insulin peak. And therefore you get your more buck for your money. I mean, you're having a more nutrition breakfast in terms of a choice. You're getting your vitamins, you're getting your minerals from the fruits that are fresh. And therefore the next choice for your lunch, or even for your snack, could be a fresh vegetable. That we have different selections. The other part of understanding our patient is how they make their choices. If we can make any modification to those choices, we have to address that most of our patients here in the Bronx don't have access to healthier lifestyles. They don't have access to exercise. We are not very good at keeping our parks available all year long. Weather permitting, yes, we don't have the best park systems here in New York City. So even if you would like to go and exercise in a public park, not really feasible most of the time. Then food access is also, our patients suffer from limitations. And what they believe is nutrition. We confuse something of nutritional value to being full, right? I'm satisfied. I'm full. I have eaten. But being satisfied, being full, doesn't mean that you have made a good choice, because the foods that you have put inside your body, they were not the best. Yes, they can make you fulfilled, but it is something that we are not getting anything from. We could have, or we could make better choices when it comes to. Let me put it in another example. When we eat, let's say, a hamburger, the same size that you will get in fast food chain restaurant, we know that that hamburger has gone through different processes of being frost. They have gone under freezing, the frosting. They are not fresh. They have been treated with chemicals. Those chemicals are not adding anything beneficial to your body. As opposed to, you can make your own burger with high fiber bread, some fresh lettuce, some fresh tomato, and you have access to ground beef that you can put some sazon, right? Whatever you choose, garlic, fresh onion, whatever you choose. Not a lot of salt, because that's when we get confused. Oh, adding salt versus adding salt, it's just a pinch is enough. And then we grill it, and we eat it. In terms of size, it's the same, but with fresher choices, you have more buck for your money with minerals and vitamins and what you're putting in.
Do you spell out these choices to your patients? Do you say specifically, if you like a hamburger, do it this way? Or, I mean, it doesn't seem to me like you're having a draconian diet where suddenly you're only eating, kale and, select vegetables and fruit. It seems like you can still have a normal life, but just make some smart choices.
100%. When we're talking about lifestyle modifications, and again, we do not need to do this in a fast way, right? We have to be prepared that this road may take months, preferably a year or 2 years, to be sustainable. When we're talking about lifestyle changes, whether or not this includes medication, whether or not this includes surgery, whether or not this includes both, diet and exercise in any way has to be modified. I'm not saying that you need to go and run the next New York City Marathon, right? But we can start by walking 1 block, 2 blocks, develop your stamina, develop all these endorphins from moving, feeling better. We were born to move. Making those lifestyle changes, and they're very patient. They have to be patient centered. If we don't address this in a patient-centered manner, if we're starting introducing foods that the patient is not familiar with the preparation, they're not familiar with the ingredients, they're not familiar of having the right access to it, or they don't even like the flavor, then you shouldn't be offering those particular elements into their diet. You shouldn't be making those suggestions even. So the first thing that we have to understand is how our patients are eating. What do they like to eat? How we can modify their eating habits within the patient-centered spectrum of care that we are preaching for our patients. It may not necessarily be the fastest interview with their patient, right? I'm not familiar, let's say, with the preparation of Haitian food. As an institution, we have access to internet. So we can start Googling, what would you like to eat? What's the name of your dish? And then we look at the dish and what ingredients are there. And therefore we can start playing in a way of using the word playing very liberal, making those adjustments or those little changes. Most of the dishes that are cooked, if not all of them, can be modified in a healthier way. I guess you cannot modify butter as an ingredient, but you can change butter as the ingredient that is part of a certain recipe. let's say, using, and I'm not going to use the word butter if I'm interviewing a patient that I have that is from Southeast Asia. I will use ghee, right? Because I know that they like using ghee for their dishes, right? But it's not may not be the healthiest thing. Or let's say a lot of our patients from other parts of the world, I personally cannot handle spicy hot. I don't like chilies, but doesn't mean that I cannot tell or advise my patient not to use them. Because as a matter of fact, chilies are a very healthy lifestyle choice that our patients can make. They hardly have any calories. They're high in elements that can sometimes be beneficial for for the patients. They have minerals, especially if they're eaten fresh. They have minerals. They have vitamins. They have different chemicals that have been proven beneficial to our body. So I cannot relate to the person to my patients that love to eat chili. But if they ask me, can I eat chilies? Yes. Do not fry them. You can boil them, you can bake them, you can use them in all your parts of your cooking. But instead of cooking oils and fats, let's just using them raw. Instead of using butter, why don't we have avocado, right, with your toast? So you have the same creaminess, but avocado has vitamins and minerals. The message goes back also more buck for your money in terms of fresh food, minerals, vitamins.
Dr. Macchiavello, from what you're saying, I'm guessing that you've probably referred some patients to the Health and Wellness Center at the hospital, where you have a teaching kitchen where they teach you how to eat healthy and tasty and affordably. And also you talk about lack of safe areas, parks and stuff, with the Healthplex Fitness Center, which also provides classes in fitness and also one-on-one instruction, that sort of thing too. So that must be something that you look favorably upon.
Yes, as I mentioned in earlier in our conversation, is I like to lead by example. I myself am part of the health and wellness. I like working out there. I train there, and I have been a student of our teaching kitchen staff. Emily is extremely knowledgeable of different choices, not only on the little changes that our patients can make, but also to the food access. So needless to say, it's a very strong addition to the patient care. Leading by example is something that I find particularly useful when helping the patient. Okay, I cannot say to the patient, you need to exercise when I don't. I cannot tell our patients, you need to eat healthier while I'm having a candy bar, right? I think that you don't have to go through a life of deprivation. Absolutely not. You can have your rewards, right? But try to make them more special, right? If you have a candy bar every day, it doesn't longer feel special, let's say. But if you are rewarding yourself with a candy bar once a month, then you're making it a special event for yourself. That's your reward. That's what you have gained after all these little changes that have a positive outcome on yourself. Therefore, you can, appreciate them more. Exercise and the gains that you get from it are undeniable. Also, it's important to say that our patients' access to us using different communication tools that we have available for our patients is good to be offered, right? We have different elements where patients can communicate their lifestyle choices. For example, you can have your tracker on your phone, tracker on your watch. You can have, and I have this with one of my patients, right? He is a young adult in his 30s, and he communicates with me every other day by email, telling me how he's doing, how he's feeling, the weight that he's lost, right? How motivated he feels about exercising every day. and which I respond to. And it doesn't have to be a long email. It has to be perfect. Congratulations. Let me know. Include me. We're making a team. You're not alone in this situation. You have encouraged me to work out there as well at the same time that you do, so you can see that I'm also sweating there, etc. So it's really, really rewarding when your patient's experience is relatable to you as a care provider. And it also creates a lot of trust when they're seeing that you're using the same services that they have available for them.
Do you think they respond to you because you've lived in their shoes?
It's not a cookie cutter. I think that the response has to be a team effort, right? So you need to have the feedback from your patient, right? And not because they can relate to you or they cannot relate 100% with you doesn't mean that you have to become stagnant with the care that you're giving them, right? So you start creating something else, something that fits them, their lifestyle, or something that fits the way that they relate to you even more. So then you try that. Maybe they don't want to be writing emails or they don't have access to email, but I know that the information and technology is expanding every day, and the trackers that you have on your phone can communicate with physicians. These can be shared at the time of the visit, and they go on and discuss with you, hey, I have made these changes, and I have not seen the improvement in my weight or in my body. Maybe they may not be evident in the beginning by drastic weight loss. And we're not looking for drastic anything, right? Because we're looking for sustainable changes. And I don't necessarily encourage that we see a weight loss of 40 pounds in 1 month. Absolutely not. I think that we need to set up goals that are achievable. And that's when it comes to also encouraging the patient that, okay, it may not be evident in when you weigh yourself, oh, I lost 10 pounds, but it's evident in your pant size that has changed, your clothes are fitting better, or you get your blood drawn. That sugar, that hemoglobin A1C has dropped down. That cholesterol without medication has come down. Your liver function test, you don't have a fatty liver anymore. That's fantastic. Among other results that we can see without them being evident to the eyes of the patient, and you use them as an extra tool to continue encouraging that behavior of change. Again, going back to there's no cookie cutter solution. Everything has to be patient centered. Everything has to be, these plans have to be developed according to what you do as a team, as a provider of health, and your patient. And you have to try different routes. It's a journey that you have together.
Yeah, let me ask you, we're running out of time here, but let me ask you one more question. Are you confident that we can change the course of seeing younger and younger generations continue to gain weight and be exposed to a number of different chronic diseases? Are we starting to make changes? Can we make changes?
We can make changes, and changes in the population start with one subject, right? Because I also believe in our community, and our community is very powerful in the word of mouth, right? And it comes down to like, oh, patient A lost weight or is looking fantastic or their diabetes is under control because they did A, B, and C. Let me go to that doctor. Let me go to that facility so they can recommend me the same. Or maybe it can be something done for me. And therefore, patient A becomes patient A1, 2, to 10. And then those word of mouth will become 200 patients, and etc. Because our community loves to share, right? Love to share their experiences, love to share their successes. And you know that that advertisement or what we can do for the patient, it starts with patient number one. And that word of mouth that we have in our community is super important, and we should foster that and be open to see what other alternatives and therefore develop different and more robust programs for the community in general. But yeah, definitely, change begins with one person.
Right, right. So I want to thank you, Dr. Macchiavello, for some time today. If somebody's listening to this podcast and is interested to make an appointment, is there a number they can call?
Absolutely. The number that where we can be reached for an appointment is 718-960-3730. We have a great team of physicians that are ready to see patients and do their recommendations. We're part of a very robust training program with a strong community focus, and that they are also participating in community improvement projects. So we're ready for you, and we're happy to take your new referrals, your new visits, and let us know what your struggles are, because we're very happy to see you, and we will be very happy to be part of your success.
Great. Well, Dr. Macchiavello, thank you very much. For more information and services at SBH Health System, visit sbhny.org. Until next time.